Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's live stream. 7:02, we're a little behind, but we are here today. We are here for the part two generational wealth live stream, and I'm going to bring on our guests. We have Evelyn Johnson and Michael Johnson and Sharnay Johnson back on for the part two of our generational wealth series. Hello, family. How are you all?
Hello.
We're doing fine.
So we're gonna get started today for the part two. Everybody is very tired. We are here for today. We're going to get started with the part two. So last time, some of you may have tuned in or rewatched the live stream. We discussed a lot about generational wealth, what generational wealth means to us, and pretty much the startup of the conversation. We also talked about the generational wealth project, and we also talked about the blueprint written by Evelyn Johnson. Today, my goal is to actually get more nitty gritty and involved into the practices and things that we have implemented into generational wealth and processes that we have actually done and recently done to help us as far as starting generational wealth. And also talk about some new updates for ITB that have recently happened as well that are very important to the generational wealth project and to our CDFI and ourselves being a funder. So we'll get into that later. That's great news, and Ms. Johnson will go over. But we're going to start with introductions, so everybody can go around and introduce themselves and introduce their roles as it pertains to in the beginning. And I'm going to start at the bottom with Sharnay.
Hey, y'all. Hey, I'm the COO of In the Beginning, and I'm the CEO of Power Forward Sports, LLC.
I am Evelyn Johnson. I'm the CEO of In the Beginning Incubator. I am also, I wear a few hats. So I'm a supporter of ITB Foundation and Power Forward Sports.
More than just a supporter of the ITB Foundation, I'd say. Mr. Johnson.
Hi, my name is Michael Johnson. I am the executive president of ITB, the vice president.
All right, it's a lot of sounds going on. So thank you for your introductions. So let's get started. So for my first question I have for you all today, it's along the lines of I wanted to talk about entrepreneurship as well, because entrepreneurship has pretty much been a way of developing generational wealth, but we have a lot of areas in which we can actually discuss generational wealth. And my first question is actually gonna go towards housing and home ownership, because I know recently Mr. and Mrs. Johnson had done some things with housing, and that the fact that there are homeowners, I know that is a way of developing wealth. So my first question is, for you all in your personal and your business experience, is home ownership still one of the best ways to develop wealth? And that's for you, Mr. Mike, Ms. Johnson, and Mr. Johnson.
Yes, it is. I don't know what's wrong with them. Yes, because what we all just experienced this year is our family did a not refinance, but it wasn't a HELOC. Was it a HELOC?
No, it's refinanced.
It was just a refinance, but they refinanced their house before. But this time when they refinanced, they actually have paid so much into the principal amount of the house that in the loan that they actually got money back. So they were able to actually refinance and actually get some of the equity that they own, that they had in the house, because they've been able to pay so much into it. So they've paid the interest and everything. Now they're just in the principle of paying the house back. So with that being said, and my dad is a vet, so Miss Johnson, she can go out and she can get another property in her name without using the VA loan and still have
Well,
this
let
house.
them, I want them
But they
to
didn't.
explain it because they've done the
Yeah, well, y'all
process.
need to come on.
So please explain
So
how
let
that
me.
process works for you, how that
It,
process worked for you all.
so what we've learned over the years is homeownership is key, and if you're trying to build generational wealth, homeownership is probably the best starting building block you can have, because one thing about home ownership is you write off the interest on your loan and some of your taxes. So you generally can write those off, and you tend to get larger tax returns annually. Another thing is, as homes build equity, so as long as you stay in your home, you're constantly building equity, because generally house values rise, um, and as you build down, pay down your principal, you just kind of generate more equity in your home. And then once you have that equity in the home, you can leverage that into things like, refinancing based on the interest rates, or HELOC loans, lines of credit, those sorts of things. And what you're basically doing is putting your equity up for collateral to, get a loan from financial institutions. So it affords you the ability to have more flexibility into building the wealth that you want to have, or that you need. So I would suggest that everyone, even now, with interest rates at a certain point, and interest rates will fall. It's ebbs and flows with interest rates, but you kind of buy low, sell high. And another thing is, even if you don't use that equity for, let's say, HELOC loans, or refinancing, you don't use the equity. If you decide, okay, I want to sell my home, you know, all the equity comes to you. It may be capital gains, but there are tax loopholes where you can sort of um, get the most value for everything that you've sold your house for, and then you use that house, that money, to put down on another property, or buy property for your kids or grandkids or something like that. That's how you start to build a generational wealth. If you sell the house, you get all this money that you have equity, and then you can possibly, because a lot of folks go through that at an older age, may sell their property to um, to maybe go into assisted living or something like that. But they've got all this money from the equity in their homes, and then they use that equity, that money, to jumpstart down payments and everything for their kids. So that's just the beginning step of building that wealth, that generational wealth that we're talking about. Just basically using what you have to basically build equity, and using that equity in your home to do various various things.
And I guess one of the biggest things that I learned is, since this isn't our first house that we purchased, but just going through the process, and we didn't know, the first house we purchased, which was our condo, we didn't know about VA. We didn't know about any of the process. So I guess the biggest thing I would say is, go through the process, talk to a mortgage company, talk to lenders, and loan agents that can kind of walk you through your expectations. Because regardless of this whole process, of purchasing a house or even refinancing, your level of nerves is up here. It's going to be high because you want everything to work out. And there's a lot of situations where things can't work out, but it's a whole bunch more that it will work out. But the key to it is, even if you're a year or two out thinking, I'm going to purchase a home, start talking to loan officers and mortgage companies then. It doesn't mean that you have to go with them. It just means that you're getting yourself educated to the process of purchasing. Because even though when we got married, my mother bought her house for the first time. She was a first time home owner. I didn't go through the process with my mom. So I didn't know anything about purchasing a house or purchasing property. So I guess my biggest thing isn't just about the wealth component of it, especially and if you're looking at it from the wealth component, some people purchase houses to flip them to get, eventually get what they want. So you have to decide early, what do you want to do with that house if you purchase it? Am I going to stay in here for 5 years and then let the 5 years of equity build up and then flip it and get a bigger house if that's the goal? All of the things and that's what generational wealth, this process is about making plans, discussing them, and then walking them out. And I think that's the biggest piece of generational wealth. If you have a plan, then even if you don't do everything and hit every goal, you at least know that I had some goals and I'm gonna hit some things. I know I'm gonna hit some things. We are wonderful if we can hit everything. It's wonderful if we can hit everything. But if we don't, at least knowing what you should know. And in my book, The Blueprint starts to walk us through, because when we purchased the condo, we didn't know anything about the VA could pay the down payment for us, the startup for that. We knew nothing about that process. And most people assume, and I think Charnay's gone through the class and she could tell us more. Even if you go through these first time homeowners classes, if you participate in that, and that is a class, they give you the down payment or they tell you where places are you can go. So you don't have to have all this money saved up to purchase your first property. There's projects, there's possibilities, and there's options out there. And I think we didn't know. And a lot of the things, and Charnay and I were just blown away. And I think Michael yesterday, this is different, but it's so brand new to us. When we hired an accountant to do all of our accounting for ITB. And the thing about it is, all the stuff that we didn't know we should be doing in that space. And I think in my headspace that I'm in right now with this conversation, I'm not so much talking about what the generational wealth process is so much about, but how you implement it is research first, find out because what Michael didn't say is, this wasn't new to us. We decided 2 years ago, we knew we were in our house 19, coming up on 19, 20 years. And so we started having the conversations just between him and I and the family. This is what we're thinking about doing. So we need to figure out what's the best options for us. And that took a year. That wasn't something that we just jumped in and just did. It was stuff that he researched based on the questions he had. I researched based on the questions I had. And we even had another offer on the table that once we looked at it really good and looked at the numbers really well, we decided we didn't want that offer. We wanted another offer from another company, because we felt that company actually had our best interest, and that company did have our best interest and didn't flip our loan because we wanted to keep it as a VA as opposed to going conventional. It was a whole lot of things. So what I'm saying to you is, that's why we're starting this generational wealth conversation so early, because this isn't something that you just rush in and do. None of this is, because it's so new to us. We got to learn. And when I say new to us, I mean everybody that looks like me on this computer, as well as everybody that's out here that has never purchased a home, period, if you look like me or not. and we're just talking about the home buying process. I'm not going to tell you the home buying process because it could look different for everybody. But I can tell you this. If you start researching and you make a decision that this is what I'm going to do, and you do the best research and are equipped with asking the best questions for yourself, you will get things done exactly the way that they need to be done for you, how you see your life being, because building this generational wealth looks different from everyone. We just want you to start the conversations, to make the decision to say, okay, I need to think about saving money for my kids and my grandkids. I need to think about a legacy for my kids. What does that look like for us? So as we're discussing it tonight, and some things we're talking about specifics, but like I said, Sharnay can even give you, because she's taking a first-time homeowners class, so she can get the certificate. So when she's ready to purchase her home, that is something that she can do. So Sharnay, I see you bounced off. Where are you?
We're gonna. I have a follow-up question. Would you suggest that families, for developing wealth, would you suggest families to first start a business or go into owning a home together? What would be your first suggestion for a family that has money set aside and they want to make a decision, and they're in a rental apartment right now, and they say, okay, well, I have money and we could do this. We could start a restaurant, or we should purchase our first home. What would your suggestion be?
That really depends on business projections. If they are projecting that their business is going to grow within a certain time frame, and they can kind of look in the future and say, okay, within 5 years, based on sales, based on this or that, we're probably going to grow our business exponentially to a certain level, and then we can get the house after that. I can't really tell you one way or the other. It's really a personal decision. And it's something that you need to kind of talk to with your family members or your board, or, whatever is driving you to move forward within the business. On the personal side, as far as the home ownership, it will afford you to sort of write off your taxes. And generally when that happens, you tend to get more money back from the IRS. And that's one of the issues we had with our first property. We didn't know that. We actually did get a VA loan for our first property, but we didn't know about doing our taxes, and every year we were just paying the IRS. And it never dawned on us that we should be writing off these taxes. And nobody ever told us. We were young, our first property, we had no financial guidance. And I think that's what the purpose of this whole generational wealth process is. Asking the right questions and getting, connecting with people who've been through certain things, who can put you in contact with people who know sort of answers to those questions, just getting advice and guidance. So before you make a decision, like whether I buy a property or open a business, you sort of talk to folks, and they can kind of tell you based on experience or based on, financial analysis, which will work better for you. If you're selling widgets and in 5 years these widgets are going to just explode and I'm going to be set, we're going to hit a goal where we're going to be making X amount of dollars per year, even after we hire employees, and you probably could put the house on the back burner for a while. But if you're starting a business where it's going to be a pretty slow growth period, it's going to take 2, 3 years, 4 years to get to this point, and then from there we got to get to this point. But you see how it's going to work, the longevity of it. You might want to say, hey, let's get the house. because that's just money we're basically just paying someone else to live in a home and we're not getting any equity, because again, that equity can help build the equity you can use to your advantage. So if you stay in the house 5 years and let's say the value of your house increases and you get, it doesn't have to be a whole lot. It could be $30,000 in equity that you might increase in a house that you've been in 2-3 years. It could be 100,000. It doesn't matter, but that equity is something that you can use for the business, right? You get $20,000 equity. You get a loan against that $20,000 equity. You put it into the business. So there are several ways you can go about it, but I would suggest having a conversation with someone who's probably been there, or some financial folks, or just having those conversations before you make a decision.
Or call us. You can call us, actually, ITB. You can give us a call at 804.
Or you can call ITB, or you can get the book, and the book will help walk through some of those questions that we're asking, because it's all about generational wealth. And we talked about it last week. The one thing about getting generational wealth, we talked about it from a monetary standpoint, but we all answered the question that you asked, and it wasn't all about money. It was all about everybody had a different take on what wealth means. So what we want to do is try to equip our community to have the resources, knowing the right questions to ask, so they can build their generational wealth and pass it on for generations.
Did anybody else? And I know Sharnay wanted to tag on into her experience of the home ownership side, but did anybody else want to add on to that before we go back and move on?
Only thing that I have to say, and I took your question as more of a hindsight 2020 thing. In hindsight, the only thing I would have decided to do different is to set up the family trust early. I would have done that much earlier, because that's one of the biggest expenses, that having your attorney do that. But once it's set up, everything that you add to it, everything that you put in it, the ITB would already be in our trust. It would already be established as it, no matter what. And the reason why I say that is because, I did have a recent health scare, and I'm grateful that I'm fine. But what if it didn't go the way God wanted, this way, and it went an opposite direction, and we weren't in a position with ITB, as me being the owner, for you all to just go in and take over ITB, because you can't, because as we found out yesterday, dealing with the accountant, whoever's on there as the owner is the owner. And at this point, that is Evelyn Johnson. And so changing all of those parameters early and putting the trust in place much earlier, even before Sharnay was born, we had the insight to do that, and then just add on and just put our insurance policies and everything in it. It wouldn't even be a thought about anything. We would know that regardless, if something happened to me or Michael, we're set regardless. And we're set in a space of mentally and financially, because with the trust, you also put your, what they call is your intellectual value in there. You actually say the things that you value in the thought processes and everything. You include them as part of the trust process, so that your intent isn't, as everyone is discussing the intent of, our current president and the Constitution, and trying to figure out what was the intent of the first four writers of maybe this particular law in the Constitution. Well, in a trust, you have to write that out. You have to literally say what my feelings are about certain things. And I just felt like my mortality hit me much earlier in life than I thought it would have. But the thought process is that had we done the trust early, then that would, when I was there, it wouldn't have been a thought. It would have been like, Michael's fine, Christian's fine, Charnay's fine. They don't have to think about anything except if something were to happen to me, be sad, and then the insurance policy goes straight, because the insurance policy is in the trust. It's not in Michael, it's not in Charnay. So our whole life would not change because something happened to me. And it won't change if something happened to Michael. And so that's the only thing. And so with that being said, I would opt for a house first, primarily because I would always want to start building equity as early as possible. In a business, I understand it takes 3 to 5 years to even start hitting that number. If it's not the best business in the world, it just takes off like it. And I don't know any businesses that happen overnight. So I would personally go for, I would just purchase. And if I was in a family situation, I would purchase my house before I would go ahead and launch the business, if that's a feasible thing. That would be me. That's just me thinking in that space. And again, the hindsight part of the other part is just the trust, which we haven't discussed. So now, Charnay, you could go ahead and piggyback onto what my home ownership, because I think that's a big piece that people are not aware of, but you're preparing. It's not like you're not preparing for your first home.
Mm-hmm. Well,
so give us some insight into the class that you had taken and how that has helped develop you to become a first home owner.
Well, pretty much the basis of the class is telling you information about lenders, a mortgage, if things happen and your payments start to get behind, they have resources. So they're just telling you about getting your credit straight, making sure your credit is at a certain place. 680 is pretty standard, but they even said in the class that it is people out here that will take you with a 620 and things like that. But a 680 is a good start. Also about the grants. So with me being a single mom and a first time home owner, I guess it's just certain money is set aside for home ownership. And because I am a single mom and I'm in school, it was certain stipulations for you to get certain amounts of money. So I pretty much hit all of them. So I automatically had about $20,000 worth of grants, money I didn't have to pay back to anybody. But I don't know. And this was a program through the city. So it was right downtown on Broad Street. The housing, equal housing opportunities or something like that.
In
I took the
Richmond,
class.
Virginia, right?
Yeah, Richmond, Virginia. Yeah, Richmond, Virginia. Sorry. And like I said, they told you about your credit. They told you about mortgage lenders. Your not a ghostwriter. What is it?
The
Underwriter.
The underwriter. Yeah, the underwriter in that process. Until I said ghostwriter, I'm thinking about music. But yeah, they told you about the process more than anything, and then having your credit score, and then they gave you a bunch of resources, but they weren't just. You still had to go find your own realtor, and don't go looking for a house if you don't have that pre-approval letter from a mortgage lender. That's the one big thing I always remember. It's fun to go look at houses, but when you actually in that process of getting a house or even getting a house built, don't do anything until you have your pre-approval. So that means that you went to a bank, went to a lender, and they said, okay, from everything I've got in your credit score, your income, we're going to approve you automatically. Before you even have a house, you're approved for $300,000. So you take that and then you go with an actual realtor, and then you start looking for houses. I was just going to find a realtor and just go start looking at houses because I like looking at houses, but it is a process. So you have to trust the process. And the grants, they pretty much took care of your closing costs. The grants could help with getting inspections for the house. these grants, they did for certain things. They didn't all go for just the closing costs, but more than likely, when you do a first time homeowners, and then even if it's a couple, Ms. Johnson and Mr. Johnson are both first time homeowners. They both could get their own amount of money, even though they're married. I don't know if people know that, but it was couples in my class before, and neither one had bought a house before, but they're married, but he can apply and he can get his. So I don't know how it worked when it came down to the loan and all that good stuff, like whose name is on it, all that good stuff, but they were able to both get money for first time home ownership, and they both staying in the same house. So I don't know how the mortgage approval part, but you can both get money towards closing costs, towards getting the house, Terminex, just little stuff that comes up when you're in the process of getting houses, especially older houses. And they tell you about that. Older houses versus new houses, rural houses, rehabbing houses. It's different loans for different houses. So you got to be careful with making sure you have the right loan as well when you're buying a house too, because if you're in the rural parts of Virginia, it's a certain loan just for that, because you're in a rural part of the state. So it's a lot that goes into getting a house, and the first homeowner classes will inform you on a lot of this information, so you can really know, okay, well, I live in Powhatan, I only can get these kind of loans and things like that. But they do help and assist you grant free, like for school. It's not a loan, it is a grant. They're going to give you this money so you can use it for purchasing your first home. And and they do have stipulations when you do these programs. You have to stay in the house for 5 years. You can't rent it out. You can't rent it out. You have to physically stay in the house. And then after 5 years, then you can put the house up for sale or try to rent it out and things like that for, generational wealth and stuff like that. But first 5 years, you got to stay. And I've heard there's different programs for classes. It's 5 years tops. So yeah, that's it for me.
That is great information, Sharna. Thank you for sharing. Do you know what program that class was done through? Is it through you said it was from Richmond?
It was through the city of Richmond. I'll try to see if I can find a link to post in the comments, but it was in the city of Richmond. It was housing. I'll look it up.
Okay, thank you. So this is for Virginia, Richmond people. I'm sure there's something similar across the states. So if you're in Oklahoma, West Virginia, New Jersey, North Carolina, anywhere like that.
It is because people got on the call and asked. I'm in North Carolina now doing the class. By the time I finish, I'll still be in North Carolina, but my plan is to move to Virginia. So they will still. You still can do it. So they were right. They were in Virginia. They were in North Carolina calling and doing the class in Virginia because that's where they wanted to end up at. So they could still do it, get the certification, and use everything they got to get the house in Virginia. But you still you should tell people that.
Yeah.
It sounds like
what you say?
It sounds like this was a federal program.
Yes, it was. It was all from the state.
So it's federal, then it's across the state.
Yes, it's everywhere. Yeah, it's yes.
So it sounds like I don't know the update of how that money has been distributed now, because as far as we know, that money could be gone to the reflection pool or to somebody's pocket. So we go look. Y'all just do, as Ms. Johnson said prior to this, do your research, folks. There's somebody, just like a law. Laws don't just happen out of nowhere. Something had to happen in order for that law to be in place. So you're not the first homeowner, and you won't be the last homeowner. So somebody has gone through this process before you and has information for you. So do your research, ask the questions. Again, call us if you have questions and you need help, because listen, we have some clients who get business support from us, but also have conversations like this, have properties from family properties that they want to do and change over, or if they want to rent out or something like that. So
Yeah.
Charnay put it in the chat on Facebook. So if you're watching on Facebook, I'm gonna try to copy it and put it in here. But it is here.
Home
It
of
is
Virginia.
here for you all. It is here for you all to look at. So if you're a Virginia resident, or if you're not a Virginia resident and you want to just find out the same program but for your state, then use this link and check it out. That's the link for it. So we're gonna move on to the next question. So my next question is for everybody, and it's about credit. It's about credit because Charnay talked about credit, and I feel like credit is obviously another important aspect, but it's also an aspect that we have worked within our own household to develop generational wealth. So my question about credit is what are steps that individuals can take to improve their credit score, or if they have no credit at all, what's the easiest way to
becoming an authorized user on somebody who has good credit? So that's calling your grandma in New Jersey and saying, I need to build my credit. Can you make me an authorized user on your credit card? Keep the card, because they'll ask you, do you want to send them a card? You can say no. And we know that grandmas in New Jersey pay all their stuff on time, and they're just great with how they spend their money and their credit. So if you have a grandma in New Jersey,
it's not necessarily just a grandma. It could be anybody.
It could be a cousin. It could be a cousin in Atlanta. It could be a cousin in North Carolina.
And the thing about it is the conversation. It's if your whole family knows. Like my first cousins that I deal with in a great deal that we intertwine a lot of our, like today, for instance, I was talking to my cousin and it's her birthday. And again, shout out to you, Stash. Happy birthday. But when I was talking to her today and I was showing, I said, you see, I got my glasses. They're frame shaped like yours. And I said, it doesn't matter. I could walk in her house and see something, a carpet, a couch or something in her house and in some of my other first cousins' house. And we all had the same stuff. We didn't buy it together. We didn't look at it together. It is stuff that we just love together. But the reality of it is we discuss finances. We don't discuss how much we pay for our mortgage and all of that, but we do discuss this generational process. And we had the discussion. We started even with our family 2-3 years ago now. So as my daughter is alluding to, yes, because she can still call her grandparents, her and my parents. And we still have that capacity to do, because we know after a certain point, you do stable off and you do get things straight and you don't have the expenses that you had when you were younger and had young kids and young people. You know, I told my mother a month or two ago when we were up in Jersey for her birthday, and I said, well, now we just trying to get to your level so that we have money left over and are prepared for Charnay and Christian when they start doing whatever they're doing, that, you know, when they call us and say, well, they need something, we have it available to them. And so, but like we did with the process and with credit is essential to this process, building your personal credit and building your credit. And again, I spoke about that trust. This trust is the key thing. That is so pivotal, because everything is built around that, and it is the safe place, and then you build everything else out around it. So when you're back to what Christian said about and what Michael said about and Charnay spoke about the home, what we did with the loan, income from the loan, from the house, the equity that we had in our house. That's what they call starting to become your own banker. You don't have to go to the bank to borrow money. You borrow money from yourself, and you start to create systems that you borrow money from yourself. So a system could look like, I have some money sitting in my bank account, And now I want to use the bank's money against my own personal money and never actually spend my own personal money. But now I may take a line of credit against the money that I have sitting in the bank, and they could give me up to 50, $40,000, $50,000 if I have that sitting in the bank and they can verify it and see it. Now I can spend their money, $50,000. That gives me $100,000 to spend as opposed to just my $150,000. That's the same way with credit. When we started this process we were thinking about going into and purchase and getting doing the home equity process, we had to decide whose credit was the best. And mine wasn't great, but also I'm not on the loan with the house because it's a VA loan. So it's only in my husband's name. So we had to figure that out. So his credit was still teetering. So it was nothing. It was nothing but not even, it was just a post in our family group chat that said, who has the best credit score? Let me know, because Michael needs to be added to your credit card as an authorized user so that he can build his credit. Next thing I know, I get a call from one of my first cousins. Well, what do you need? What you need? What I need to do? That's it. She did everything. They did everything they needed to do. Then the next thing I know, and I didn't tell Michael, here come a credit card. And the limit was well more than I wanted it to be. It was comfortable. It was a $20,000 limit. I said, are you crazy? I don't even know why you sit there with in his name, cut it up before he even saw it. But it doesn't matter. The purpose of it was to build his credit. And that was the job. And that's what it did. And so
there's so many ways.
So it's not, and again, the generational wealth process, it isn't a lonely in a vacuum process. You have to talk to family members. Now, every family member is not in that headspace, and that every family member is not.
You have friends too, because I know if I call to one of my friends,
but you can also build.
They put me on their credit card. They give me a credit card.
A lot of times, we as a community are afraid of
looking like a failure,
doing things like that, co-signing for loans and all that kind of stuff. There's always some fear behind, okay, do I co-sign for someone that wants to purchase a vehicle or something like that? So there's always some fear behind it. And one of those things about building credit, and you have family members that have sort of great credit, or they're older, they've been through everything you've been through, they're sitting on 800 credit scores, and there's nothing wrong with going to those members and saying, hey, I do need you to put me on a credit card so I can build my credit, or someone co-signing for you to do something. But you got to have the conversation, and you have to be responsible, and you have to be upfront about what you're trying to do and what you need. I'm not going to ask someone to, co-sign or, co-sign on a loan, for instance, for a vehicle that I know I can't afford, or the car payments, it's way out of what that's not fair to yourself, and it's not fair to the person you're asking to help you. So you got to have those conversations, and that's exactly what we did when we were talking about, to Charnay's point, to Evelyn's point, helping build credit. Being a co-signer, or not a co-signer, but having someone added as an authorized user. And no, I mean, I didn't see the credit card, and if I had seen the credit card, being responsible, I would have cut it up. Now, there may be some family members where you do that for, and they get the credit card, and next you know, they're charging up stuff, and you be like, well, I got the credit card. So you got to be careful about who you're doing certain things for. But you can't, that's why you got to have the dialogue and the conversation. because
another way to get your credit up too, I've done it a different few times. So I've had it, or if I was on an authorized user, as I think it was my grandma's card or my parents. But then I actually pulled my credit report and actually looked at the stuff that was wrong, and I started writing the letters to the creditors, and I got stuff off of my credit.
Yes.
And
that was going to be the next. That was
I
gonna be
actually was able. I was like 3 points from a 700, and then I bought my car, which was a mistake. I should have just kept my credit up there. But you get one free credit report from every borough a year. So you get your credit report. When they sell stuff off, the loan is sold to someone else. That's a whole new contract, a whole new. You don't owe them. So when these creditors are hitting you up, you just write these letters and you send these letters in. And my letters went so far where I had to go to court for an old creditor. And their lawyer was up there, and I was like, I don't know who this. I've never taken out a credit card with these people. I don't know this company. I had a Discover card. This is not Discover. And they was like, well, what's the name of your company? And they won't Discover. So they dismissed it. I didn't pay it back. They just dismissed it. So, and I'm not saying don't pay stuff back either. Sometimes you might just have to bite that bullet. But the good thing about that is when they sell that stuff off too, that credit, if you owe $4,000, by the time you actually say, okay, I want to pay it off, you might could just pay $1,200 instead of paying that $400, and they'll say it's even because the companies already lost his money. That's why they sell it off to try to get the money back some way, somehow, and work out a contract with these telemarketers and these third parties. But if you owe it and especially in the house process, people might tell you, okay, pay that whole bill off. They might. And if in certain cases you might need to, but it's other cases where you can do your own research, write these letters, hit these people up and tell them to take this stuff off my credit. You spell my name wrong. My name is not Chardonnay. I know people love to think it is, but my name is not that. My name is Chardonnay and it's spelled a certain way. That's wrong. And it's on my credit report. If you put my name wrong, you could put other stuff wrong on my credit report, and somebody can try to impersonate me and stuff like that. So that's why you should look at your credit report once a year, because you do get it for free. So you can make sure everything on there is correct. And then too, the stuff that's not on there, long as it's no identity theft stuff, write those letters. And everybody got ChatGPT, Gemini, all these places now. They can write these letters up with you for no problem, really quick. Just tell them what your situation is, write that letter, get a copy of your ID, and send it off to the creditors. And you can get stuff off your credit.
That's going into the next question. And the next question was about debt and different types of debt.
But Christian, the first place that we went was Lexington Law Firm. And I'm going to tell you, those law firms that say they're going to clean up your credit, if it's a reasonable price and you can afford it, within 6 months, they will have your credit cleared up. And that is a good place too. So I don't want to say any of the Legal Shield is a good.
Oh yeah, I did do Lexington Law Firm too.
Yeah, and credit restoration. If that's part of their process.
Yes, and credit restoration here in Richmond, Virginia, off of Midlothian Turnpike by the
in Legal Shield.
In Legal Shield, yes. All these places will help you.
They will help
inform you. They'll inform you too, so you could, if you wanted to do it by yourself. Now, not Lexington Law Firm. They want to do it all, and they just want you to pay them. But when I did it, me and Mommy had a family deal, so we paid one price for both of us to get our credit fixed. So they will. You got to spend money to make some money, and you got to spend some money to clear some things up sometime. But it's all in what if that's what you want, if that's your goal, then, we can't get our nails done every 5 weeks. We just got to pay our creditor, but it's worth it because having that peace of mind that your credit is good and you have your debt ratio down. And another thing with credit cards, see when your due date is, because if your credit card is $200, do not spend your whole $200. Keep it at $100 you spent and $100 that you still have available, because that goes into when you look at your credit, it's a circle, and it's a pie on there how much of every, they have different categories on the pie, but your debt utilization and things like that go into how much you actually spent on your credit card. So if you have a high credit card, only try to spend half of the credit card, keep half of the credit as credit, and then spend half of it and make your payments on time. And then
Right.
don't be scared of secured credit cards. Secured credit cards is if you pay the money on there. So I have a secured credit card because I'm rebuilding some things, and I put $200 on there. So the $200, I put it on there. It's accessible to me. I keep it within that limit. And if I do go over it, I don't let it go. I don't hit the actual 200. I will keep it at $3 if I have to, but don't hit your actual credit limit on your credit card. Even that little bit of $3, it will still help with your ratios and things like that. So
Yes.
don't be scared of
Don't
when
max
you're
out your
rebuilding.
credit card.
Yeah, don't max it out. Keep it low and keep something on there and just keep paying it. My next credit card bill is due the 7th of July. I'm ready to pay that off this week and be good for July. And keep
And
my
you should know that. You should
and
know
keep,
those
yeah,
dates.
and then you need to
You
know,
should know when your statement comes out.
yeah, know when your statement comes,
when they're actually running your credit.
and
When
know
your
when they're gonna submit
Yeah.
to their for their billing process. Know when they're gonna actually submit their bills to the creditors. Because if they do it on the 10th and you pay the 8th, you're gonna be in that bill process, so it's gonna look like everything is paid, so they can say, okay, they paid their stuff on time. It's a good payment. So
Your
you need to,
payments.
when you get a credit card, ask these questions. ARPs, unless you have really good credit when you're getting a credit card, I mean, it ain't too much you're gonna be do about the interest and all that good stuff. But get ones that only have an annual payment, not a monthly fee. Get ones that, again, secured credit cards are great when you're rebuilding. You put how much on there. If you want a bigger amount, put $500 of your money on there. They'll send you the card, and you'll get a credit card with $500 on there, ready to be used. But again, you're only going to use $250 of that. So credit cards and credit building is not hard. I think it's tedious, but it's so many businesses out here, credit restoration, Lexington Law Firm, Legal Shield, that are out here that want to give you the information that you need. You just have to ask. And again, ChatGPT is so far pretty, I mean, look, it's AI, but any question I got, I feel like I get a pretty okay answer where I can find out even more information if need be, and they'll help you write the letters, and they'll explain to you why you're writing particular letters and things like that. So just asking right questions, and asking, no question is dumb, because you may have been thinking the same thing and two other people could have, and ain't nobody just asked. Just ask the question, because you never know what your answer is going to be. And again, your credit is huge. You can have $1 million in the bank, but that goes back to the generational stuff. You don't need to spend your $1 million in the bank. You need to have a high credit score and have $1 million in the bank and have a line of credit and have a trust and have properties.
And
that's how you really win it.
On the credit, their money.
So,
You're not spending
so
your
we've
money.
gotten into some ways. Co-signing does help as well. Help with credit. Having actual things on your credit helps you build your credit. If you don't have a vehicle, or if you don't have something where you use your credit, that's not going to help you build your credit. And the credit score is like, some other places have social scores, but in the United States, it's the credit score. So if you don't have anything on your credit or use your credit at all, again, I hear a lot of people in our community don't even use credit. They still use cash for everything. They keep cash in safes like that's gonna do anything, or they leave cash in a shoebox underneath their bed, and have these old mindsets and mindsets that kind of keep us impoverished. So, if you don't have any credit, that's anything on your credit, like a credit card or a vehicle.
Not having no credit is just as bad as having bad credit.
Bad credit. You would rather want to have bad credit.
Bad credit, yeah. Yeah, because what the boy say? Tell me what you can do. I'm gonna tell you, look, we might do something with it, but if you ain't got nothing on, not a cell phone bill, not a small security credit card, you gotta have something on your credit, and that you're using constantly, or that's worse than having bad credit.
Because credit
history.
Credit is history. Right.
Yeah, credit history is probably the most important. You know, I had a credit card. I maxed my credit card out going on the trip because I was big baller. But you know, I paid that credit card off. I paid off, and it shows that it's paid off on my account. So it's not being held against me. It actually helped my credit score go up when my credit score went down from maxing my credit card out. So, you know, if I hadn't gotten that credit card at all, you know, I would still be trying to build my credit score back up. You know, Charnay co-signed for my apartment for me in West Virginia, and I had some debt built up from the credit from my apartment. I paid that off too, and as soon as I paid that off the following month, and credit is almost like a GPA. I imagine credit like a GPA, something like an A will make your GPA go up. Like paying your stuff on time will make your credit score go up like a few points, right? But as soon as something bad hit, you can see
one missed payment, it'll go down, and it'll take months to get it back up. But all the good payments, it don't go up as fast as it go down.
Right, that's the part. It does not go up as fast as it goes down. So making that payment, you may say, okay, I made this payment this month for the month of June. So it's not going to reflect in June. Whatever you paid off is not going to reflect in June. That's why the process for the refinance HELOC was such a year. It was like a 2-year process. That was a 2-year process. In order for us to even qualify for that, or my father and my mother to qualify for it, they had to go through a year process of payments being on time for the first of the month to even be in that position to even receive that equity. So, you know, it's like imagine like in school when you got GPA and you got to have good grades, you got to have good payments. And that's why on the other side of that was the debt part. Having debt is not necessarily a bad thing. I think a lot of people think about debt being, you know, I have student loans and medical loans and things like that, but having certain debt, things that you owe money back to, or certain situations where you may have to owe money back to, that's not a bad thing. It could show that you have history. And if you're making payments on that debt and you call some of these individuals and you say, hey, listen, I want to set up a payment plan, a monthly payment plan for the next 6 months or something. What options you got? Don't tell me what you can't do. Tell me what you can do. You know,
right?
Exactly. I can make a payment of this amount for this many months. Can y'all work with this? Well, they say, well, Mr.
And they're gonna say, yeah, because you calling them to pay them. I got $100 every third 3 weeks. The third 3 weeks. So, that's all I'm paying. So you're gonna take it and you go write on that letter. And you gonna send me that letter. I can show y'all that right now. I got a letter right here. They told me all your stuff good, girl. You made them payments, girl. You good. You good with us.
Right. So then you
want another credit card, and that's how they gonna do you. They're gonna say, oh, everything good, and then okay, well, everything's clear. You could go get a secure credit card with the same company. I don't think so.
And then as soon as you start paying stuff off, as soon as you start paying things off, you start doing what you're supposed to. You're gonna get all these offers. You're gonna get offers from Capital One.
Now, how Volvo know I need a new car? How they know I need a new
car offers? You're gonna say, oh, you're gonna send that to your house. Yeah, Volvo, Chanel.
Girl, you don't need a new car. I'm telling you.
That's what I'm saying. See, we need to also talk about the temptation of when you get this credit up, they're gonna be calling you and sending all these cards and everything.
What I can say right now, as parents, Christian, just for me and Michael, we just sit here proud because we never had these conversations. We have never had these conversations, especially at 25 and or at 35. We didn't start getting comfortable with money enough to have the conversations until at least 45. So this is really a proud mother and dad moment. And I'm gonna say this to your dad. The other day I was saying, we got to figure out how to put the down payment on for Christian's location where he's going to school for law school. And I said, that's $59,000. And I don't know what I said, oh Lord, I don't even know how to go to your father for $59,000 right now, because I know everything that he's already got in the making. And Charnay turned around and said, why would daddy have to do anything? I could use the first time homeowners and buy the house for Christian, just like I did his first house, his first apartment. And I just use it, or Christian just use it. We don't have to use you and daddy. We can use y'all for some of the cash.
I was saying Christian, yeah, but Christian now is established. He get his tax returns and stuff, because when he was in school, he was still on our credit. But now Christian can still do it himself. But right. I was just saying, we have other options now.
I ain't owned a home before, so I can.
That's what I'm saying.
And it literally dropped that pricing. Well, I thought we had to do 59 down to at least 20.
They tell you 10%, and then they cover that 10%. With the money of grants that they give you will usually cover that 10%. And yeah, so it's like now you got options, but if you don't talk about it, you won't never know.
Yeah,
you know, and when you have some people call it,
and rental properties are like, that's just another way of generating that wealth. I mean, just having a rental property, and you know, you may spend X amount of dollars for the property, but after you charge rent, it's basically paying the mortgage. You know,
right?
You got a mortgage, and your renter is paying your mortgage.
Right. And it's a duplex.
There are things that you, as a landlord, you have to, you know, abide by the laws. You have to make sure the house is, you know, everything that's supposed to be there is working. But there's a flip side to it, because you get people who, okay, I'm not paying rent. You have to evict people. There are laws about eviction. You know, you just can't throw somebody out your house. You know, you get people.
It's literally a season for you can't in the winter you cannot evict people. That's the law in Virginia.
Yeah, if your house is unoccupied, somebody just moves into your house, you don't know it, especially if it's in another state or something. There are upsides, downsides. You just have to do your homework.
Yeah.
Decide, you know, where I want to buy this property. You know, you get a property manager. You're gonna have to
that's what I was ready to say.
Spend the money. It may not. Let me tell you something. There are certain investments or certain things that you will spend money on, and you don't see an initial return on investment. You know, you go buy a car. You go buy a car, and after all you sign a deal, you're driving off with that car, right? There are things that don't seem that tangible, where you're investing in something and you don't see it. It's not a shiny car. You're not drive off with, like a trust. You know, you spend $4,000 or $5,000 for a family trust, and to you it may be like, oh well, damn, I don't see why I spent this money. But when everything comes to pass and you're dead and gone, and you have all this property, or you have, you know, bank accounts, or you have 401ks, and you have all this stuff that you've built up over the years, and then you pass away, and then you've got family members coming out of nowhere. Well, that was my brother. Or you don't have a will. You know, it's just.
But even with a will and all of that,
with the will,
if you don't have a trust, all
everything's
going to
go to
Uncle
probate.
Sam, Uncle Sam first.
It's going to go to probate or something like that. And then you got bill collectors. Oh, okay, I want my money first. Or what about the mortgage on the house that person owned? It's just all these things that will come into play. And you may think, I just spent $4,000 for a family trust, but I'm not, you know, driving off the lot with it. But it's going to come, and it's going to have its value when the time comes.
And now it is just a changed mindset.
And that's exactly what generational wealth is. It is about, you know, it's easy to spend money and be like, okay, here's what I got for my money. But sometimes those investments that you make they're not that tangible. You don't see it right away, but in the long term, it'll be the best investments that you've ever made for your personal life, even for your business. We sat there yesterday and we talked in dealing with an accounting firm just to make sure that we have everything in order to move forward for ITB. And then, it cost is the cost. And you might not see an initial return, but when it comes time to have everything that you need to even expand or get grants or loans or whatever, everything is going to be I's dotted, T's crossed, because we spent the money initially to make sure it's that way.
And trust and believe what you spend now, it's not even as much as you may think.
It's a drop in the bucket.
It's a drop in the bucket versus how much you can actually make.
Exactly.
Like I said, you got to spend money to make money, and when you spend it properly, you'll get a great return on there. And your books and stuff like that.
Again, it's just about the knowledge. Just one or two conversations, and we learn so much about what we could be doing, tax laws, writing off stuff. All that kind of stuff is just like, oh wow, we didn't know that.
And we should have
started a business a long time ago.
In some of these conversations, we initially for ITB went to a tax attorney to start ITB for us, but he didn't even want ITB to be started as a for-profit. So don't just go to somebody and they tell you one thing, and if you've heard other things, or you have a set idea of how you want to do things, and for sure it's the right way of doing it, don't be afraid to get other opinions. Don't be afraid to have other conversations with other tax attorneys or accountants for certain things,
lawyers,
or other realtors, or other. Some people come to ITB and say, "Okay, well, I'm gonna go explain." You could go back to whoever you want to look to and talk to them and ask them whatever questions. But our information gonna be right. But in some cases, some people's information is not right, and it's coming not from the right place. So you just have to use your discernment and wisdom to, differentiate between, okay, you just blowing smoke, or is this really the right way to do it? Because we met with a tax attorney before we even got to this point with ITB. Had we gone the route that tax attorney would have gone, couldn't even say ITB would be in existence to this day. So that something small like that you may not think some small, but everything that you do, every decision you make, every conversation you had leads to somewhere, and it leads to something else. And it could either lead you to disaster, or it could lead you to generational wealth. So making the right decisions and having the right conversations, and not coming into it, oh, I know this, I know that, I know this. And again, we have to stop having poverty spirits, people. We have to stop being afraid to pay for things that we got to pay for.
The price is, like they say, it costs, the price is the price.
The price is the price. So if you want something, and the only way you're going to get there is by paying that, whatever it is that you have to pay, you have to pay it. And you can complain about it. I complain about stuff.
Complain about it to somebody at your house away from us, because we don't want to hear it.
but like if you're going to do something, if it's something has a cost in order for you to go to the next level, for you to do what you want to do, you need to pay it. You don't need to argue.
Do y'all be arguing with them people with the? Hold on. Do y'all be arguing when y'all be getting y'all seafood boils? No. You buy them and you go home, you be quiet. So when you need to get your business services from ITB, you just pay the price, get your business started, and go be great. And stop, don't do that, because that's the thing in our community. But another thing, after talking to the tax attorney last night, that's how the other people, do you know how much stuff you can write off with your business? I mean, you're supposed to do your business taxes first, because what they can't capture in the business taxes, guess where it go? In your personal taxes. So you got a house and a business.
We have a lot of
Bro,
expenses.
you could be getting
have a lot of
at least
expenses.
$50,000 in your refund, bro. Married, let's put that in there too. Married with a house in a business. We telling y'all now, do your business taxes first, because everything they can't capture in there, you're probably most likely going to be paying for stuff for your business out of your personal account. And because of that, you go down the line and you get all the stuff for your business, and you're pretty much all your expenses are going to go in your business taxes. All the other stuff, I use my car. I got to go to a client. I got to go to a school to go see a client. That is a business. I mean, that's a business trip. I'm going to eat all that stuff. I'm going to write that off of my taxes.
Yeah, we just fed clients today. We just fed clients lunch today. And
exactly. Hello. Hello. We need sponsors. And we're going to write all this stuff off on our taxes. So you have to, you said it's not true.
I said that's so true, because even
we've lost out on money, not knowing
like
that we can deduct all this. I'm not even lying. It was a whole sheet of stuff that we can deduct. Flights. We have traveled. We were in 2 different places in 1 week for business conferences for ITB. We had to pay for the hotel. We paid for the hotel out of our business account. All that stuff is not going to get captured. So do your business taxes first, then do your personal taxes. Be married, be jolly, have a house, have some churn, and you'll be good. And you get that refund, and then you go to your bank, and then you do some investing. Open up what is it, Christian? What
RIA.
Open that up, money market accounts. Okay, we done told y'all another gem, the spaceships. Now we not getting on it, but we gonna help when they start building it. We gonna be a part of it. So you need to follow and get the stocks of the stuff that help build the spaceships, and then get your dividend. Because my dad just said it. Oh, it may not be a big investment. When you actually invest and you start getting them dividends every other month or every 2 months, oh, you're gonna see that. You're gonna be like, this is $1,500. In this crazy man that's supposed to be our president, he going crazy. But I done got it all works together. You gotta have patience. You gotta change your mindset.
Yeah, there are people who live on dividends alone.
Yes, people have rental property or they just live off their dividends, bro.
Yeah, there are people who just take it.
That's a whole nother show.
We'll talk about that.
We at 1:15 already. We are 15 minutes.
Well, listen, y'all.
That is a true statement. He made a great point, because when I first opened my bank, my accounts with Colorado, my money market accounts and my investing accounts, he told me he had a client whose husband passed away, and he was still getting his pensions and getting payments out, right? And he was getting payments from his dividends, and she gets the dividends now. And he said she just lives off the dividends. He has so much invested in the stock market that she gets about $8,000, $8,000 to $10,000 a month just off of dividends from him working all his life and investing in the stock market. So now she can live comfortably. He's passed and he's gone. He's gone. Now she can live.
And anybody say she ain't work, she might still have a little.
She might have other money
part time. Like I need something to do. That girl straight $8,000 a month. Me and Julie need about 5 to live.
Have that discussion on the stocks and things, because
we didn't get into
Michael and I are going to be competitive in this space. I told Charnay, I said, I'm gonna compete against your father and see who can make the most money by the end of the year. We have our own separate money market accounts. And I said, I'm going to start calling Scott and telling him what I want him to buy when I want him to buy it. And let me see what Michael does, because Christian and Charnay are 110% right. I have looked, because I'm watching the Wall Street Trapper. He told me, he said, these specific stocks pay dividends every other week and every other month. He says, so
not every stock
earning stocks, and see if you want to invest some in there and start doing that. And then he said, get the dividends and reinvest them yourself without them investing them for you and taking out any administrative stuff. But in any case, me and Michael gonna get into a competitive space because we both have separate things. And I said, I'm gonna see how I make if I make a lot of money this year versus how much Michael make, because he's been aggressive with his. He's been aggressive, and he told him he was going to be aggressive. So I want to see, and that'll be
all that sound like to me is we're gonna have a good Christmas, honey.
Another time, because I think it's all about conversations.
Yeah,
we're talking about generational wealth, and we're talking about, you know, we got to make this. We can't make decisions in a vacuum. So if she's going to make a stock trade that's going to yield a higher, it's going to have a higher yield, then
we both going to do it.
We both going to do it.
So in other words, there's no competition.
There ain't no competition here. If she got a lead on a good stock, and we got 2 different money market accounts or whatever, did she say, Michael, we're going to just invest so much in this stock? Because we looked at the what is
SpaceX.
The SpaceX stocks when the IPO opened, and we were like, okay, it was like $500 a share or something like that
before it opened.
And
then it actually opened.
And then it opened, and then it dropped down, and I just said, that's Elon Musk trying to generate all the money he can up front so he can be the first world's trillionaire, and use that money for whatever he wants to use it for. I'm like, that's not a good option, you know, because that stock is going to open one thing, is just going to drop from there. Maybe we, like Chardonnay said, maybe we need to look at the companies who are building the rocket ship, you know, or supplying the steel for the rocket ship, or whatever.
The computer chip,
whatever. You know, if you were buying in NVIDIA, is it NVIDIA?
Yeah, NVIDIA.
Oh my God! You brought stock in NVIDIA a couple years ago. You probably are pretty damn well off, right? But these are the things we don't know about. Nobody, you know. That's what we do know. We had to have this conversation. I'm looking forward to talking more to what's his name?
Rufus. Bobby.
The stock guy first.
Bobby.
No, Bobby is the other guy.
It's Scott.
Yes. I haven't heard from Scott in a while. Scott should be reaching out to me, sending me emails, sending us emails saying, hey, you know, you got these in these money market accounts, but, you know, if you want to, you could take this and buy a little bit of that stock. I need that feedback. So
because we're not day traders.
Yeah, I don't want to be a day trader, but I do need, you know, you got to lead on something that's going to probably have a good yield in a year or two. You know, put us down.
I can't say this for the state of Virginia. Marijuana is about to be legalized.
Yes.
In the state of Virginia. So if you own a stock, or you want to own a stock, I would consider looking into the Chrono stock for marijuana.
Well, see, the only reason Chrono isn't blown up because marijuana isn't federalized yet. As soon as marijuana is federalized and it drops down from a certain class, then companies like Chronos,
that's in the conversation.
Oh my God, they're going to blow up because what they're going to do is you're going to be able to buy packs of marijuana, like, you know, cigarettes like you would do cigarettes. It's just going to be mass manufacturing, and it's just going to be something you walk into the C-store and be like, hey, give me a pack of the
so
five,
if you still have those Chronos,
Chronos,
if you do have those Chronos stocks, like we all do, don't sell them. Don't get mad at them. Just keep on holding them because they're going to have a return for you.
So exactly, because the return doesn't happen overnight. It happens in time. In time. Yes.
So thank you all. Trust. You need to put the Chronos stocks in the trust.
Thank you all for watching. We one of the things, Ms. Johnson, just give us the update for ITB real quick so we can close out the big news for ITB and our ITB Foundation.
We are now officially a ITB Foundation, and which means we begin the space in operating to begin the process of operating ITB Fund. So we will be able to fund and help people get started with their businesses with funding and money. And the reason why we had to go to and have an accounting firm come in and make sure everything is 110% with ITB is because that's the credibility that we're putting on the line to get the funding to help with these businesses. And we've already had one company sit at our table and overwhelmed me because I didn't even understand the numbers, and told them, you need to create a graph sheet for me. And honey, the graph sheet came today. I need to see what you're talking about, and I need you to explain it to me because I don't know numbers. And I'm so proud. We already have board members for the new foundation. People are transitioning off of our old board and moving into, and some new people are coming in. So we are really, really proud at where we're standing right now. And our partners, and we have some great partners. You all know that Langston University is our partner. Credit Restoration is our partner. Our partner in West Virginia, Patricia, and with grants management. And we're not going to be managing our own grants. We found a company that has a forensic accountant within them, and they will manage all the money that we bring in. It's still something as ITB I never wanted to do, is manage grants. I always wanted to just do the programs. So now we found a great partner out of West Virginia, and just so you know, that will be doing that for us. So I'm really proud of our growth. As my husband and I, before we came in, we were going back and forth with some things personally, and the level of stress is like attacking everybody right now because we see the growth potential so there, and trying to manage everything else to get over these humps, to get to where we need to get to is the biggest thing. So if you're a praying person, send some great prayers our way for some strategies. And if you want to be a part of ITB, Christian, we'll be losing Christian soon. We're going to start doing some restructuring and adding some people on to ITB. So if you're interested in coming on and submitting a resume, go ahead and shoot it to us now. Because I'm not going to overwhelm Charnay. Our board is going to be involved with this whole process. We're going to bring some new people in, and we're going to bring some new money in to bring all of this process to fruition. And now we're in position. With the foundation and with ITB as an LLC, as corporation. We are ready to fly. And folks are so proud that coming to our table now and realizing that we've done both of these. So we want to thank you, and thank you for the congratulations, family. Thank you for everything. Thank you for Christian for being a great host, and Charnay for
thank you all for joining us.
Y'all showed up tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Thank you all for joining us. We appreciate you, ITB family. Please, I don't know when we're gonna be going live like this again, but we'll stay tuned for updates. If you need any services, please contact us at inthebeginningcode.com or give us a call at 804-468-8141. We appreciate you all for joining us tonight. Thank you to the Johnson clan, the Johnson family for joining us and getting this together. We pray that you all have a great rest of your night and a great rest of your week. Stay prayed up and pray for us, and we'll be praying for y'all. And I'm going to say like my preacher say, we love you, and there's nothing you can do about it. So thank y'all for joining, and have a great night.